Chloe Baxter slid a $7 restaurant coupon across my desk like she was handing me the keys to a new luxury car. Purple marker, handwritten message, appreciate the little things complete with a smiley face. I am William Harding, 54 years old, and I stared at that piece of plastic for exactly 4 seconds, long enough to remember sleeping in my office chair on a Tuesday night because we were coordinating a system upgrade across 3 time zones, long enough to recall the 91-hour work week that closed our record-breaking $267 million quarter, long enough to think about my aging body telling me this pace was not sustainable anymore. Then I smiled, not because I was grateful, but because in that moment Chloe had just handed me everything I needed to walk away from 15 years of my life. But let me back up and explain how I got to this point, sitting in a corporate office holding a $7 coupon after delivering the biggest quarter in company history. For the past 15 years, I have been the Senior Director of Infrastructure at Vertex Software Solutions. On paper, we are an enterprise software solutions company. In reality, we sell complex systems to Fortune 500 companies that do not always understand what they are buying, but know they need to stay competitive in a world where technology changes faster than most executives can keep up. I did not start out in infrastructure. I began as a production coordinator back when Vertex had 200 employees instead of 2. Now's wrong. This was when the company was still figuring out what it wanted to be. I worked my way up through planning, logistics, and system design. By year 5, I was managing cross-functional teams. By year 10, I was architecting the operational frameworks that still run the company today. The thing about infrastructure is that it is not glamorous work, but nothing moves without it. Sales can promise anything to clients. Engineering can build the most sophisticated software in the world. But infrastructure determines whether customers actually get what they paid for when they need it, at the quality they expect. It is the difference between a company that talks about excellence and one that actually delivers it. My former director, Richard Vance, understood this. Richard was old school, 59 when I started working under him, a guy who had built operational systems for 3 different companies before landing at Vertex. He protected our department when executives wanted impossible timelines. He fought for proper staffing when other departments complained about headcount. He made sure operational expertise was respected, not taken for granted. Richard had a simple philosophy. Infrastructure is like the foundation of a house. Nobody thinks about it until it cracks, and by then it is too expensive to fix. He made sure we never let it crack. Working under Richard, I learned how to build systems that could scale, how to anticipate problems before they became disasters, and how to manage teams that kept everything running smoothly, even when sales was promising delivery dates that made engineering nervous. The work was demanding but fair. We stayed late when it mattered. We handled emergencies that came in at 5:45 p.m. on Fridays. We dealt with client implementations that required coordination across multiple time zones and technical teams. But Richard protected us when it counted. He pushed back against impossible deadlines. He told the C-suite when their projections were fantasy, not reality. He made sure bonuses and promotions reflected contribution, not just title. Then Richard retired 18 months ago, and everything changed. Chloe Baxter arrived with an MBA from a top-tier business school, 3 years of consulting experience, and exactly 0 understanding of how manufacturing-adjacent operations actually work. She was 30, sharp as a blade, and absolutely convinced that efficiency metrics and data analytics could solve any operational challenge. Her first team meeting was a masterclass in business school buzzwords: optimization, streamlined processes, data-driven decision-making, and leveraging synergies for maximum throughput. She talked about bringing fresh perspective to operations and modernizing our approach for the digital age. What she did not do was ask a single question about our current systems, our client relationships, or why certain processes existed. She did not inquire about our team's experience, our institutional knowledge, or what we had learned from 15 years of handling every kind of operational crisis you could imagine. After the meeting, she pulled me aside. "William, I have heard great things about your institutional knowledge," she said. "Richard spoke very highly of your technical expertise. I am counting on you to help drive this transformation and bring our department into the 21st century. Translation: I am going to change everything that is currently working, and I need you to make sure it does not completely fall apart while I figure out what I am doing. I tried to give her the benefit of the doubt. Everyone deserves a learning curve, especially when they are taking over complex systems they did not build. I walked her through our client onboarding protocols, explained the difference between standard implementations and custom integrations that required special handling. I showed her the early warning scheduling algorithm I built to catch problems before they became disasters, the relationships we had cultivated with key clients, and the informal networks that kept information flowing smoothly between departments. She listened, took detailed notes, and asked intelligent questions. For a few weeks, I thought maybe this could work. Maybe fresh eyes on old systems would actually help us improve. Then she started optimizing. The first sign of trouble was the Monday morning metrics dashboard. We need real-time visibility into operational performance, she announced during a team meeting. Just a quick snapshot of key performance indicators. Nothing too heavy, just data that helps leadership make informed decisions. The problem was that our existing systems were designed for weekly and monthly reporting cycles, not daily metrics. Creating daily dashboards meant someone had to manually pull data from 6 different platforms, cross-reference it with current client schedules, validate accuracy against multiple sources, and format everything into executive-friendly charts. That someone was me and my team. Where will the additional hours come from? I asked during the rollout meeting. We will streamline existing processes, she said confidently. Work smarter, not harder. This is about efficiency optimization. What happened instead was that within 8 weeks, my standard 50-hour workweek became 65 hours. The metrics dashboard required 2 hours every morning just to compile and validate. Client emergencies still needed immediate attention. Monthly reporting deadlines did not disappear. Quarterly planning cycles still demanded the same level of detail and analysis. Our team of 8 experienced coordinators shrank to 6 when 2 people left for positions at companies that understood work-life balance. Khloe's response was that this was a great opportunity for everyone to expand their skill sets and take on more responsibility. No replacement hires were approved. No adjustment to deliverables was made. Just more work distributed among fewer people with the expectation that we would maintain the same quality and turnaround times that had made our department the backbone of the company's operational success. By month 4 under Khloe's leadership, I was averaging 75 hours a week. By month 8, it was 85. This quarter, the one that generated our record $267 million, I tracked 91 hours per week for 12 straight weeks. You might wonder why I did not push back harder, why I did not just say no to the impossible workload. 3 reasons, all of them sitting in my checkbook every month. Alimony payments of $2,800 to my ex-wife, my daughter Olivia's pre-med program at Northwestern, and my son Noah's engineering degree at Colorado State. At 54, with 2 kids whose education costs more per year than I used to make in total, walking away from a $195 zero in salary was not exactly a simple decision. But the real reason I stayed was not financial, it was professional pride. The systems I had built over 15 years were handling massive growth flawlessly. The operational frameworks I designed were processing more transactions than anyone had thought possible when we first implemented them. My team was performing miracles under impossible conditions, and I was not about to let 15 years of work collapse because some new director thought she could optimize human beings like software code. I thought if we just got through this quarter, if we hit the numbers everyone was demanding, leadership would recognize what it actually cost to achieve those results. I thought record revenue would translate to proper staffing, reasonable workloads, maybe even some meaningful recognition of what we had accomplished. The quarter closed on a Thursday. $267 million in booked revenue, 34% above target, making it the highest performing quarter in company history. My operational systems handled the volume without a single major failure, 0 critical downtime. Customer satisfaction scores actually improved despite the increased transaction load. Friday morning, the celebration was exactly what you would expect from a company that just posted record profits. We had cupcakes in the break room, blue frosting with the company logo printed in edible ink. Khloe gave a brief speech about team performance and operational excellence, using the same corporate vocabulary that meant everything and nothing. Generic applause, quick photos for the company newsletter, then back to work. No bonus announcements were made, no discussions about headcount increases, no acknowledgement that we had just proven my systems could scale way beyond what anyone had projected. Just sugar and stock phrases about appreciating everyone's hard work. The weekend came and went. I spent Saturday catching up on personal emails I had been ignoring for weeks, and Sunday, trying to have dinner with my kids without checking my phone every 10 minutes. Olivia mentioned she had been calling me for 3 days about something related to her MCAT prep. Noah asked if I was okay because I had missed our monthly lunch 2 months in a row. Monday afternoon, Khloe called me into her office. I walked in tired but hopeful, expecting maybe a real conversation about resources, about sustainable growth, about building on what we had achieved. Instead, I saw a stack of glossy coupons on her desk. Corporate branding, restaurant partner logos, the kind of promotional materials you would get in a new employee welcome packet or at a job fair. "William," she said, beaming like she was about to deliver great news, "I wanted to personally thank you for your dedication this quarter. Your leadership made all the difference in our success." She picked up a purple marker, uncapped it with a small pop, and carefully wrote on one of the coupons. I watched her form each letter in neat, cheerful handwriting. "Appreciate the little things, CB." Then she drew a small smiley face next to her initials, the kind of doodle you would see on a greeting card. She slid it across her desk toward me. It landed next to my coffee cup, which I noticed was empty, and had a ring stain on the bottom because I had been reusing it for 3 days straight. $7 toward any purchase at Metro Cafe Network, a chain of corporate lunch spots with overpriced sandwiches and coffee that tasted like it had been brewing since the last decade. I picked up the coupon and examined it. $7. Not $10, not $15. Not even enough to cover a full lunch at the cafes where it was valid. Maybe a sandwich without a drink, or coffee and a muffin if you did not mind spending your own money to supplement your appreciation. "These are just small tokens," Khloe continued, gesturing to the stack of identical coupons. "We are giving them to the people who really stepped up this quarter." I wanted to add a personal touch to show that we notice individual contributions. I looked up at her. She was genuinely smiling, not mocking, not being passive-aggressive, just completely and utterly oblivious. In her mind, this was thoughtful leadership, a meaningful gesture that showed she understood the human side of management. For 91 hours a week, for 15 years of operational expertise, for systems that had just processed $267 million in quarterly revenue without breaking, for staying late, coming in early, working weekends, missing family dinners, postponing doctor appointments, and sacrificing every aspect of my personal life to keep her department running flawlessly. $7 and a purple marker smiley face. "You know what, Khloe?" I said, letting a slow smile spread across my face. "You are absolutely right. I really should start appreciating the little things." She exhaled, her shoulders dropping slightly as relief washed over her expression. "I knew you would understand, William. You have such a great perspective on what really matters. That is why you are such a valuable leader here." "I do," I said, still smiling. "I really do understand now." I walked back to my desk, sat down, and placed the coupon next to my keyboard. The office was humming with its usual afternoon energy. People typing, phones ringing, the gentle whoosh of the HVAC system trying to keep 200 bodies comfortable in a space designed for 150. For the first time in months, I actually heard the sounds around me instead of just existing in a bubble of deadline stress. I opened my laptop and pulled up the Q3 operational report I had compiled for next week's board presentation. 15 pages of charts, graphs, and metrics that told the story of our record quarter. $267 million in processed revenue. 0 critical system failures. 15% efficiency improvement over the previous quarter. Then I turned on my scanner. The scanner hummed to life, a sound I had heard thousands of times over the years. I fed the coupon through face up, watching the light bar sweep, across Khloe's purple marker handwriting and that cheerful little smiley face. The machine beeped softly and produced a perfect digital image. I opened a new slide in PowerPoint, something I could do in my sleep after 15 years of creating executive presentations. On the left side, I placed our Q3 revenue summary. Clean fonts, professional formatting, the kind of chart that made board members nod approvingly. 267 million in bold blue text. On the right side, I dropped in the scanned coupon. The purple marker was clearly visible against the white plastic background. The smiley face looked even more ridiculous when enlarged to match the scale of the revenue numbers. No commentary needed. No angry annotations or sarcastic footnotes, just two facts side by side, letting anyone with functioning eyes draw their own conclusions about the company's priorities. I saved the file as Q3 results and recognitions and sat back in my chair. Around me, the office continued its normal rhythm. Keyboards clicking, phone conversations about implementation schedules. My colleague was troubleshooting a client integration issue 2 desks over, patiently explaining why their timeline expectations were not realistic given their technical constraints. Normal operational work, the kind I had been doing for 15 years. But there was a crucial piece of this puzzle that Khloe Baxter did not know. And frankly, neither did most of the current executive team. Before I was ever officially hired as a full-time employee 15 years ago, I worked for the company as an independent contractor. During that 6-month contractor period, I built the foundational core of our early warning scheduling algorithm, because I built it on my own equipment, on my own time. Prior to signing any intellectual property assignment agreements with Vertex, I held the federal copyright to the underlying source code under 17 U.S.C. Section 106. When I was eventually hired full-time, the company's lawyers drafted a specialized licensing agreement. I granted Vertex Software Solutions an exclusive, perpetual license to use the algorithm for $1 a year, contingent on one specific legal clause. The license would immediately and automatically terminate if my employment ended due to constructive discharge or forced resignation driven by hostile working conditions. For 15 years, it was a dormant clause, a legal technicality that Richard Vance had helped me secure to ensure I could never be unfairly ousted. A 91-hour workweek sustained over 12 weeks, coupled with a refusal to hire replacement staff and a deliberate denial of promised compensation, more than met the legal threshold for constructive discharge under federal labor guidelines. By handing me that $7 coupon instead of recognizing the sheer volume of unpaid overtime required to keep her department afloat, Khloe had not just insulted me. She had legally documented a hostile environment of exploitation. I opened a new email and began typing. Subject: Q3 operational results and revocation of proprietary license. Dear leadership team, the attached comparison summarizes both our Q3 achievement and my experience delivering it. Over the past 15 years, I have built and maintained the operational infrastructure that enabled today's record performance. This quarter, that infrastructure processed $267 million in revenue through systems I designed, coordinated by teams I developed. To achieve these results, I averaged 91 hours per week for 12 consecutive weeks. The attached image shows our official Q3 revenue achievement alongside the tangible appreciation I received for this performance. However, this email serves a dual purpose. Effective immediately, I am resigning from my position as Senior Director of Infrastructure, citing constructive discharge due to forced 91-hour workweeks and chronic understaffing. Consequently, pursuant to the licensing agreement dated 15 years prior, and in accordance with my rights under 17 U.S.C. Section 106 of the Copyright Act, the license granting Vertex Software Solutions the right to utilize the core early warning scheduling algorithm is hereby revoked. The proprietary code modules will automatically lock at 5 p.m. today. Any attempt to reverse engineer, bypass, or continue utilizing the copyrighted architecture without my express written consent will constitute willful federal copyright infringement. The institutional knowledge I carry will transition with me. I have learned to appreciate many things during my tenure here. Thank you for the opportunity, William Harding. I attached the PowerPoint slide and reviewed the recipient list twice. CEO Oliver Grant, who joined the company 3 years ago. CFO Henry Caldwell, who had actually worked his way up from accounting and might appreciate the visual comparison. COO Diane Foster, who understood operations better than most executives. And Khloe Baxter, copied for visibility into exactly how her leadership style was perceived. At 3:47 p.m. on a Tuesday afternoon that felt like the end of everything, I clicked send. The response was faster than I expected. By 3:51 p.m., my phone was buzzing with calls from extensions I did not recognize. By 3:54 p.m., my colleague looked over from her troubleshooting session with raised eyebrows. "William, your phone has been ringing non-stop. Is everything okay?" "Everything is fine," I said, and for the first time in months I meant it. At 3:56 p.m., CFO Henry Caldwell forwarded my email to someone with the subject line "Urgent, need to discuss IP revocation immediately." At 3:58 p.m., Chloe's direct line appeared on my caller ID. I let it go to voicemail. I was already moving, gathering the personal items I had accumulated over 15 years of making this office my second home. Family photos, the spare reading glasses I kept in my desk drawer after too many late nights staring at spreadsheets, the insulated coffee mug Noah had given me for Father's Day. Everything else belonged to the company. The technical manuals, the process documentation. 15 years of institutional knowledge that could not be replaced by hiring someone with an MBA and a fresh perspective. People were starting to stare as I emptied my desk drawers. Word was spreading the way it always does in open offices, through glances and whispered conversations. I did not make any speeches or send any departmental farewell emails. The PowerPoint slide said everything that needed saying. I just packed my things, logged out of my computer, and walked toward the elevator carrying a cardboard box. The elevator doors opened with their familiar ding. I stepped inside, turned around, and looked back at the operational department I had built from the ground up. My team was still working, still solving problems, the doors closed, and for the first time since Chloe had handed me that coupon 2 hours earlier, I felt something that might have been peace. The lobby felt different on my way out. Same polished floors, same corporate promotional videos playing on mounted screens, same receptionist nodding politely at departing employees. But I was not mentally reviewing tomorrow's task list or calculating how many hours I would need to catch up on delayed projects. I was done calculating. I pushed through the glass doors into the late afternoon sunlight. The parking lot stretched out in neat rows filled with sedans and SUVs belonging to people still inside, still working, still believing their dedication would eventually be recognized with something more substantial than coupons and cupcakes. I was halfway to my truck when I heard the alarm bells starting to ring. Figuratively speaking, through the glass facade of the building, I could see the digital status boards on the second floor flashing red, the 5:00 p.m. Automated lock was executing early. Without my active employee credentials authenticating the license server, the early warning scheduling algorithm had initiated its shutdown sequence. The entire $267 million revenue engine was grinding to a halt. I reached my truck, placed my box in the passenger seat, and unlocked the door. That was when I heard it. "William!" Chloe's voice, sharp with panic, cutting through the ambient noise of traffic. Heels clicking fast on the asphalt. I stopped beside my truck and turned around. She was half running between parked cars, her usually perfect appearance completely disheveled. Her blazer was askew. Several strands of hair had escaped from her normally immaculate style, and she was out of breath. "Wait," she called, reaching me with her hand raised like she could physically stop me from leaving. "We need to talk." I leaned against my driver's side door, crossed my arms, and waited. She caught her breath, straightened her blazer, and tried to reassemble her professional composure. "About your email," she said, her voice trembling. "You embarrassed me in front of the entire executive team. Do you understand how that makes our department look? And what is this nonsense about revoking a software license? You cannot just shut down our core operating system." "Depends on who owns it," I replied calmly. "And according to the Federal Copyright Office, I do." "The coupon was symbolic," she said quickly, deflecting the legal reality she was just beginning to comprehend. "You know we have budget constraints. We cannot just hand out cash bonuses every quarter." "Chloe," I said, keeping my voice perfectly level, "I did not ask for a bonus. I asked for recognition that matched the value delivered. I asked for staffing levels that did not require me to work 91 hours a week. Then what do you want? The frustration in her voice was edging toward absolute desperation, because right now it feels like you are trying to destroy this company on your way out. Henry Caldwell is threatening to fire me if I do not fix this. What I want, I said, is leadership that understands operational excellence requires sustainable practices. What I want is a director who recognizes that 91-hour weeks are not a badge of honor. They are a management failure resulting in constructive discharge. She folded her arms defensively. You think I do not fight for this department? Do you have any idea what kind of pressure I am under from corporate? Revenue targets come from above. I do not set them. And your solution was a $7 coupon with a smiley face, I noted. It was a gesture, she repeated, like the repetition could somehow change reality. A personal touch to show individual recognition. It was a message, I replied. Crystal clear. 15 years of operational expertise equals $7 and some purple marker enthusiasm. And unfortunately for you, a breach of fiduciary duty. She stared at me, the buzzword finally catching her off guard. Fiduciary duty? What are you talking about? As a director, you have a legal obligation to protect the assets and shareholder value of this company, I explained. By intentionally forcing a 91-hour workweek on the sole architect of your core infrastructure to save a few dollars on department headcount, you recklessly triggered a constructive discharge. You jeopardized a system responsible for a $267 million quarter just to make your optimization metrics look good to the board. That is a textbook breach of fiduciary duty, Khloe. When the shareholders find out why the system went dark today, they will not blame me. They will sue you. Her phone buzzed. She glanced down reflexively, and I saw the sheer terror building in her face. The screen showed a text preview from CEO Oliver Grant. Emergency board meeting. Williams' resignation and system failure. Conference room A now. She looked back up at me, and for a moment the professional mask dropped completely. I saw what was underneath. A 30-year-old woman who had been promoted way beyond her experience level, trying to manage complex systems she did not fully understand while satisfying executives who measured everything except what actually mattered. HR called, she said quietly, her voice devoid of any earlier arrogance. They want to make an offer. Senior VP of Infrastructure, 20% salary increase, equity participation, just come back inside and restore the license. I am not negotiating, I said. She blinked, stunned. What? I am not negotiating. I am informing you that I am leaving. You cannot just walk away from 15 years, she pleaded. Think about your career trajectory, your industry reputation. I have 15 years of proven results and an operational track record that speaks for itself, I said. My reputation will survive. The question is whether yours will. Her phone buzzed again. Another message, this time from the chief legal officer. I could see the brutal reality finally settling in. The person who understood their operational infrastructure better than anyone was walking away, taking the legal rights to their most important software with him, and there was no quick replacement for institutional knowledge. At least come back inside and talk to the executive team, she begged, her voice cracking. There is room to work something out if you will just... No, I said firmly. William, be reasonable. Khloe, I said quietly, looking her directly in the eyes. This is me being reasonable for the first time in 18 months. I unlocked my truck and opened the door. She stood there in the parking lot, the afternoon wind blowing her hair across her face, her phone vibrating endlessly with urgent, furious messages. I put my truck in gear and watched in the rearview mirror as someone who was no longer my problem slowly walked back toward a building that was currently tearing itself apart. 6 months later, my life looks entirely different. I am sleeping 8 hours most nights. My blood pressure is normal for the first time in years. I took a position as VP of Operations at a mid-sized logistics consultancy, where the CEO is 56 and understands that experience costs money, but inexperience costs vastly more. Olivia finished her MCAT prep with me actually present to help her study. Noah and I have resumed our monthly lunches, and he is considering systems engineering as a career path, though I have strictly warned him to choose his bosses carefully. The new company gave me equity, reasonable deadlines, and something Khloe Baxter never offered: respect for the knowledge that comes from doing difficult work well for a long time. I heard through industry contacts exactly what happened at Vertex Software Solutions after I drove out of that parking lot. Without the early warning scheduling algorithm, their implementation timelines collapsed. They tried to reverse engineer my code, which immediately triggered a cease and desist letter from my attorneys citing federal copyright infringement. Facing millions in potential damages and complete operational paralysis, the board of directors forced CEO Oliver Grant to settle. They paid a massive seven-figure licensing fee to legally acquire the rights to the algorithm, ensuring my kids' tuition and my retirement were permanently secured. As for Khloe Baxter, the board did exactly what I predicted. They launched an internal investigation, found her guilty of gross negligence and breach of fiduciary duty for creating the hostile conditions that triggered the IP crisis, and fired her for cause. Last I heard, she was working as a mid-level project manager at a startup, no longer throwing around words like synergy or optimization. The operational systems I built at Vertex are still running, but without someone who understands their foundational design principles, small problems are constantly becoming bigger ones. They are learning what Richard Vance tried to teach Khloe all those months ago. Infrastructure is like a foundation. Nobody thinks about it until it cracks, and when it cracks, it brings the whole house down. If you are reading this and thinking about your own version of that $7 coupon, whether it is a pizza party after a quarter of record profits, a branded coffee mug for extraordinary effort, or a cheap gift card for sacrificing your health and your family time, pay very close attention. That moment of recognition is not gratitude. It is a revelation. You have built something valuable with your time, your expertise, your dedication. When someone hands you a token and expects profound gratitude, they are telling you exactly how little they understand what you are actually worth. At 54, I learned the hardest lesson of my professional career. Appreciating the little things means recognizing when it is time to find people who appreciate the big things: your knowledge, your legal rights, your commitment, and your irreplaceable human contribution to something larger than yourself. Life is far too short to accept $7 coupons when you hold the keys to the entire empire. You just have to know your worth, read your contracts, and never be afraid to walk away when the bill comes due.